I've lived on the outskirts of a small town my entire life, nestled at the foot of a dense forest. The forest has always been a source of fascination for me, with its ancient trees and seemingly endless trails. But recently, that fascination has turned into a chilling sense of dread. It began a month ago when my sister, Emily, disappeared. She had been on her usual evening walk through the forest, something she had done countless times before. But that night, she didn't come back. We searched for her tirelessly, scouring every inch of the forest, but found no trace of her. A week later, others in town began to vanish as well. All of them had ventured into the forest, and all of them had vanished without a trace. The townspeople whispered about supernatural forces, but most dismissed it as mere superstition. Then, one night as I lay in bed, I heard it for the first time, an enchanting melody drifting through the open window. The music was beautiful and yet eerie, and it seemed to be coming from the depths of the forest. It tugged at me, urging me to follow it. With every ounce of willpower I had, I resisted the urge and stayed put, my heart racing in my chest. As the days went by, the music grew louder and more frequent. The townspeople, one by one, began to succumb to its allure. I watched in horror as my friends and neighbors wandered into the forest, never to be seen again. And still, the music continued. Desperate to find answers, I began researching our town's history. I discovered that similar incidents had occurred in the past, dating back centuries. People had been lured into the forest by the same haunting music, and their fates remained a mystery. I knew I had to find a way to stop this before it claimed any more lives, including my own. Some suggested leaving town, but it was easier said than done. Most of us had family roots running deep in this community, and the idea of abandoning our homes, livelihoods, and ancestral connections was unfathomable. Furthermore, we couldn't be sure that the sinister force wouldn't allow us wherever we went. Furthermore, we wouldn't be sure if the sinister force wouldn't follow us wherever we went. It was as if we were trapped, prisoners of our own town. Armed with a pocket knife and a flashlight, I decided to venture into the forest, determined to find the source of the music and put an end to it. As I stepped onto the forest path, the music grew louder and more insistent. I fought the urge to follow it blindly and focused on my goal, navigating the winding trails and dense foliage. As I ventured deeper into the forest, I stumbled upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone altar, adorned with symbols I didn't recognize. The music seemed to be emanating from the altar, growing louder and more hypnotic with each passing second. I approached the altar cautiously, my hands trembling as I reached out to touch it. The moment my fingers brushed against the stone, the music ceased, replaced by a sudden, deafening silence. In that silence, I heard a faint whisper, like someone calling my name. I spun around, and there, standing at the edge of the clearing, was Emily. Her eyes were vacant, her face pale and gaunt. She stared at me, unblinking, and began to sing the same eerie melody that had haunted me for weeks. As she sang, others emerged from the shadows of the forest. The missing townspeople, all of them just as lifeless and ghostly as my sister. I knew in that moment I had to destroy the altar. Gripping the pocket knife tightly, I chipped away at the stone, ignoring the chilling music that filled the air. As the first crack appeared, the ghostly choir fell silent, and I could see fear flicker in their eyes. I continued to strike the stone, each blow bringing more cracks until finally, the altar shattered into countless fragments. As the last stone fell, a violent gust of wind swept through the clearing, where I fell over, smashing my flashlight and plunging me into darkness. I was engulfed by an oppressive silence, broken only by the ragged sound of my own breathing. Blindly, I stumbled through the dark forest, desperately hoping to find my way back home. Hours seemed to have passed before I finally emerged from the trees and collapsed onto the familiar streets. Exhausted and disoriented, I made my way home, unsure of what had become of my sister and the other townspeople. Days passed, and the missing townspeople, including Emily, remained lost. The eerie music from the forest had stopped, but the dread I felt had not abated. The shattered altar weighed heavily on my mind, and I began to wonder if I had made a terrible mistake. One evening, as I lay in bed, I heard it again, the haunting melody. Faint, but unmistakable. It seemed to emanate from the very walls of my home, as though the forest itself had come for me. I closed my eyes, praying that it was just my imagination, but the music grew louder and more insistent. In the days that followed, the townspeople who had not vanished began to hear the music as well. It seemed as though, in my attempt to save them, I had unleashed something far more sinister upon our town. The forest had reclaimed its victims, and now it was coming for us all. Rumors spread throughout the town that the music wasn't just a simple melody anymore. It had taken on an almost human quality, whispering our names and deepest fears. We had become prisoners in our own homes, unable to escape the relentless call of the forest. Those who had once left now realized that there was no escape. The music had found its way into our very souls. Now, as I sit by my window, gazing out at the forest, I know that our fate is sealed. The music will never stop, and we will never escape its sinister grasp. One by one, we will be lured into the darkness until there is no one left to resist. The ancient forest will continue to hold its secrets, and we, like those before us, will become a part of its dark and haunting melody. And as the music grows louder, I can't help but wonder if the day will come when I, too, will be unable to resist its call.
Hello everyone, I'm Giggles, and thank you so much for listening to my narration. A quick shout out to all my patrons: Melissa Perez, Geek Sanctuary, Lawrence Wallen, Andreas Anderson London, Eric Cifuentes, Krzysztof Kozak-Slazak, Jesse Hartley, and Icy Narrates. If you want to become a patron today, you can check out the link in my description below. And as always, thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in the next video.